So I was finally able to take a project that I had in my head, put it on paper, and get it transferred into a file, which then I could send out to a laser cutter to get cut, because something like this to pull off with hand tools would be a little rough to do. Be a lot rough to do, actually. As you can see, those curves and that channel down the middle, of which I am expanding it just a little bit because the pieces didn't fit exactly the way I needed them to, but I kind of knew this going into it. They're a 1/4 inch thick plate brass, which is absolutely expensive. It's one of the highest end materials you can go with, and definitely way more than you should probably use for a side table, but it's just something I wanted to try to pull off, so I'm happy I did. But definitely not for the faint of heart and wallet, I should say. And there you go. The thing fit nice. And as you can see, I went with nice soft curves on it. And that pulling off with hand tools and these little tiny curves on the edge would be really tough. And that's the beauty of laser cutters. So I was glad I did that. So for my day job, I build complex things. So on this one, I wanted to try to go with the mantra, no part is the best part, simplicity. So the zero fastener idea is something I've had for a while. And you can see all I'm doing is cutting channels in 2 identical pieces and then interlocking them in with each other. And then I'm going to take a piece of wood and then I'm going to groove or route channels in them, and then it just fits right in with a friction fit. So I ended up pulling it off, and I'm extremely happy with the way it came out. And at the same time, I also wanted to build something that had a little bit of cool style to it. Now, little did I realize how expensive the brass plate was going to be. And if you ever try to do a quick Google search of 1/4 inch plate brass, you'll see you cannot find it cheap at all. At least I couldn't. And again, walnut is usually my go-to because it's just an absolutely gorgeous wood. And I personally think it pairs well with a nice brass base. So, and then on the top, it's basically 1-inch thick lumber, and use the Dowel Max dowel tool, and that thing works absolutely amazing. It's just so simple to use. The thing is bulletproof. Put a couple of dowels, and yes, I realize that dowels are technically fasteners, but I guess what I mean by this is you can take this table apart and put it together without taking any tools out. So that's kind of what I'm going for on the zero fastener thing. And the dowels hold absolutely well when glued up, and let them dry, and the top is nice and solid, and it's got a nice warm look to it. So, and then what I did was just take a circle cutter jig, and you'll see coming up, I just cut a 16 1/4 inch circle, which is basically the top size of the top of the brass. And then I glued the pieces together, let it sit. I put these weights on it. It was probably unnecessary, but put them on anyway. Just wanted to make sure this thing stayed nice and flat. And setting up here, putting the woodworker's tape, the double-sided tape, so I could cut this circle nice and easily. And it, I went in 1/8 inch increments each time I went down. And the other thing I had to do is find a router bit that would go through all the way. Most of the router bits would only go 3/4 inch depth. So I was able to find one with a little bit of searching that would cut all the way through this 1-inch depth that I did here. And just got to clean out as I'm going. I didn't have a vacuum on this thing, so I just had to clean out. And it's a relatively easy process of cutting circles. And there's many different ways you could have cut the circle, but this is the one I chose because of the relative ease. And the other thing on the brass base that I wanted to mention was I used sort of brushed brass sort of look. And the reason I did that is because the brass to me was just too shiny when I got it. And also it scratches really easy. So when you have a brush sort of appearance to it, it's easy to fix. If you were to like drop it, get a major scratch in it, you would just take that little mechanism I had for the gun, or you could take just sandpaper and you would just sand circles and repair it and get any nick out. And it's nice and easy. And then routing channels in it, again, really easy. I just set up a piece of flat plate, and I know there's better, more professional tools, but just used a piece of 3-inch flat stock, set it up to use it as my gauge, and again, slowly routed the grooves in, maybe 1/8 inch at a time, cleaning out the material as I went. And with this, it was really close to the edge, but you just got to be really careful. And I probably should have given myself a little bit more of a larger top, but I didn't want to go too large. And there it is. Nice, perfect. And the beauty, I ordered it specifically because I knew these bits were 1/4 inch, and that's when I ordered the brass. I knew that was going to be 1/4 inch to give it that nice friction fit. And then I went with a round over bit on one side and I believe it's like a 30-degree bevel bit on the other side. And I went with that bevel bit to kind of go with you'll see the flow of the curve. I wanted to kind of continue that flow of the curve with the 30-degree bevel bit and the round over. I almost feel like I went a little too much on the round over. I wish I would have done a little bit less, but it was fine in the end. And you'll see on the end there's kind of a rotted out little piece. I ended up filling that, cleaning that out and filling it in with some homemade wood putty with some of the leftover dust and some wood glue, and it worked out pretty well. I mean, it's noticeable still, but it's not a deal breaker for me. Gives it a little bit of character. And then sanded it up. Again, that's always the boring part to watch, but that's why I have it on time-lapse mode here, so you're not bored to death with that. And then I believe I just went to a 120 grit. And ultimately on this one, I did go with Rubio monocoat with some sort of, I had it left over from another project. It had a little bit of white in it, and I think it turned out okay. I kind of just didn't feel like buying a whole brand new thing just for this small top, so I just went with the leftover of that. And it gives it a nice, and actually it lightened it up a little bit, so it kind of goes with the brass, in my opinion. One of the things I was also thinking about is most of the brass furniture that you see nowadays isn't even real brass. I mean, it's a brass-like substance at best. This right here is through and through solid 1/4 inch plate, and that's what I really like about it. Again, back to the simplicity of the whole entire thing. Walnut top, brass base, no fasteners, nothing. And to me, that's what kind of sets it apart, because most of the stuff you see nowadays, it's not real brass. And you can tell if you left it outside for a month or so and you brought it back in, you would see that the thing is already starting to degrade. Whereas real brass can hold up to a lot of things. I also think it would be nice to have an outdoor version of this with a stainless steel base and a teak or some other outdoor sort of wood would be great, because then at the end of the season you could literally just uncouple the pieces and you could essentially store it anywhere in a closet. I think that'd be very nice. And here I'm putting on felt feet, which was optional because I have a concrete floor and I didn't really need to do it. But if you had a wood floor, you put felt feet on. Granted, they're not the best at staying on, but I mean, I'm not moving this thing that much, so I'll tell you in the long run if those stay on or not. And here's the final product going together with, I mean, relative ease. I think it's about 30 seconds to put this thing together. And that was like literally one of the first times I did it, so it's much easier the more you do it. It certainly vibes with my house really well. And the most important thing about this project was taking something that was visualized in my head, putting it on paper, and then taking that and making it a reality. And to me, that's the coolest thing about the trades, building anything, furniture, whatever it is, taking something from my head and making it into reality, which is a really interesting thing to do, because most times you think of something but then never actually complete it, and it's nice to complete something.